bringing you inside the USL Championship and League One.
Segmer's got there. Mark He's been knocking on the door. He knocks it down.
Diving into all the biggest stories and top headlines.
You are ripping and roaring today.
This is USL All Access.
It's almost impossible to recreate that level of magic.
With Mike Watts and Devon Kerr on Sirius XM FC.
Welcome in, everyone. It's a new edition of USL All Access. We've got some great interviews this week because not only do we have the new Birmingham Legion coach, Mark Briggs, we also have his former captain in Sacramento, Rodrigo Lopez, joining us. It's the round of 32 for the Open Cup. It is plenty of action in the league on the weekend to chat about. Mike Watts, Devon Kerr, Emmett McConnell's at the controls. Devon, I didn't know you could spin a ball on your finger like that. That's pretty good.
This is the only thing that I've personally gone out of my way to bring back as a gift for myself on a trip. This is when we were in San Antonio, the game on CBS. It's from the Final Four, one of the sponsors, and there's the logo. And I figured I'd just keep it in here because eventually I'm going to drop this thing, break something, and have an excuse to redo the office. So I'm just rolling with the odds and the punches right now, Mike.
Smart man. Devon and I did call the CBS Sports Network spectacular game between Oakland and Sacramento. The Roots celebrating the city's birthday at the Coliseum, 14,000 in attendance. Unfortunately, they forgot their gift because Russell Cicerone scores a penalty to set the stage for Sacramento to move into the top 8 with a 1-0 victory. Dev, I don't think there's a ton to break down from this game, but maybe a thought or two.
I would say that certainly we wanted a little bit more action, selfishly. Thought that there was some very good individual defending and also some careless mistakes. Both teams created, though not a ton. Oakland better in the first half, Sac better in the second half. And then as I just transitioned to the result overall, I do think as critical as we were on air to both teams, and specifically Sac, we're doing it to teams because we expect more out of it in a good way. But there's something to be said for Sac getting that monkey off its back of sorts. They had 4 games this year where they were either tied or leading with 15 minutes to go. They didn't win a single one. 7 points dropped from winning position. Only Indy had given up more. And so I think there's something to be said about winning ugly, Mike, that you can show, especially on the road, you can eke a result out. They're still getting quality minutes out of players coming back from injury. Neil Collins is barely hitting the quarter way through the season. He's barely touching the surface on what those ideas are going to look like. I'm not worried about either team. I think both are playoff teams, but certainly they left a lot to be desired in terms of quality of football.
Yep. Couple other results we want to take a quick look at. Louisville defeats Lexington 2-0 in the first Commonwealth Cup game. Rhode Island sellout at their new venue. We'll be there in the middle of July for Rhode Island and Hartford. 10,600, but a 0-0 draw against San Antonio. The governor was there. I mean, it was a really cool sort of event with a elongated pregame. It was really cool. Charleston 4-2 win over Hartford. Hartford scored, as Ben Pierman would suggest, in like 30 seconds, quote unquote. It was a little bit longer than that, but Charleston comes from behind. Call it the Juan David Torres game. 2 goals, including an Olympico and an assist. Dev, Athletic have failed to win against 5 of the 11 teams in the Eastern Conference on the road all time. Yikes.
Wow.
They've failed to take a point against 2. They're now 0-7-0 in Charleston. Who is the other team?
Oh, wow. This is dating back to their inaugural year of 2019, correct?
Indeed. But this team was not there.
This team was not there in 19. And it's an Eastern Conference team.
They were there in 19. They left and they came back. I think I gave it away.
Left and came back. Well, I would have said Tulsa, but that's
North Carolina FC.
Oh, North Carolina FC. Oh, because Tulsa west, east, back to the west.
I see.
This is unreal. Number of teams, conferences changing. I mean, our pets' heads are falling off. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Before we go to break, Vegas defeated Loudoun 1-0 in the desert, but really Loudoun was the victor. I'll tell you why in a moment. Johnny Rodriguez scored in the 25th. Loudoun dominated the match. Didn't matter. That's sort of the way Vegas has played this year. But the club actually tweeted out that they've added a new member to their coaching staff. Dev, you and I love Ryan Martin. His wife Zoe giving birth to Finn Bryce Martin on Sunday, and so he is the coach of the week, and it has nothing to do with the result.
Unreal name, and you will not be able to convince me that with a name like that, that child is not going to be successful in some athletic profession. I'm sure it's going to be football bias.
And with a name like Finn, I have a feeling that it's not genetic, but he is going to get his dad's taste in hats.
You know what? I'll share this. Oddly enough, in a good way, Ryan Martin and I, we share a liking to a clothing brand that I wear. That we wear, I should say. I turned him on to it. He loves it, and now we trade secrets in the fashion world. Who knew that this was going to develop out of a game back in 2019?
Who would have thought? Not me. All right, when we come back, Mark Briggs is the new head coach in Birmingham. He joins Devin for an extended sit-down here on USL All Access.
Giving insight to all the biggest moments in Championship and League One. This is USL All Access on Sirius XM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everybody, to USL All Access this beautiful Tuesday evening, March 6, 2025, the year of our Lord that is known as Michael Watts, who is not with us right now because he's out walking the cat. But as promised, we did get a guest to join us, newly appointed head coach last Wednesday, March 30th. Mark Briggs joins the Birmingham Legion in the Eastern Conference. He joins us now on USL All Access. Briggsy, background looking a little different there, buddy. How we doing?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Yes, not a bad background.
Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us about what is certainly going to be a new venture in the East, and what kind of to maybe the similarities, the differences between Eastern and Western conferences, anything that's changed, and what is the brief stint that you were gone. I guess we should just probably start with the obvious question that you've probably been asked multiple times, but on different platforms. Why Birmingham? Why now? Why was this the right project for you, for your family, and why is it the right fit?
A number of reasons, to be honest. I think first and foremost, the vision that Jay and the ownership had. It aligned with, some of my beliefs and what I want to try and achieve. So that was the first part of it. Then you look at the roster. And the roster's got quite a bit of talent on, and you think you can compete and push the level. And then you come here, and the facility I'm currently in, our training facilities and the actual setup of the club, they have all the ingredients for success. And so now that's exciting for me to come in and try and achieve something.
I want to go through just a little bit of your resume. I do apologize to both you and our listeners ahead of time. My man's been at it for a little bit, so there's a ton that we can throw on this CV here. Third most wins in USL Championship history, 9th in points per game amongst manager with at least 100 games under their belt. Reached the postseason in 5 out of 7 complete seasons that spread between Wilmington Hammerheads, Real Monarchs, and Sacramento Republic most recently. Top 4 in 3 of those 7 seasons. You finished first in the West with the Monarchs in 17, with Sacramento Republic in 2023. You won the Players' Shield, which is winning the regular season in the USL Championship, again with the Monarchs in 17. You were also Coach of the Year that year. Also led the Wilmington Hammerheads to the final in 2012. Dear Lord, I totally forgot about that and actually had to look that up. Apologies, I owe you one. And you are the only manager in the last 16 seasons to reach the U.S. Open Cup final in a team that's not led by an MLS organization. That's a lot to take in. Certainly a ton of experiences. Is there anything of what I just described to you? I probably know the answer. But is there anything that sticks out that maybe you're most proud of, or maybe something that I didn't mention that you want the listeners to know about what you've compiled so far?
No, I think, look, there's a number of things you mentioned there that you obviously take pride in. It's nice to hear, but it's also the past, and right now it's about putting Birmingham on that map and making Birmingham successful. I think the biggest thing for me, the most prideful thing for me when I look and hear those things, it's something that hasn't been mentioned. And for the most prideful thing for me is the assistant coaches that worked with me that have got on to be head coaches. That's probably something that I take most pride in. I think that shows, the body of work more than the results and things that you've just spoken about.
As always, unselfish in nature. For people that don't know, gentlemen, that'll give you the shirt off his back and then continue to keep you warm if it's for the glory of the greater good. Let's stay in the present then. With Sacramento over the past 5 years, you coached 150 regular season games. Now, you guys, I understand people look at the defensive side, but scored 208 goals, did pretty well for yourselves. But the defensive side is where people probably know the team most, sort of the identity. Out of those 150 regular season games, Mark, you guys only gave up 153 goals. But I'm not looking at the past. To your point, we're in the present, new project. You talked about the talent, Birmingham Legion. I'm right there with you. What is the identity of this team that you're looking to establish moving forward?
Yeah, I think, look, we have to establish a culture. We have to establish the right environment first and foremost, what people come into on a daily basis. And for me, it's about pushing the standards and making people accountable. Because like you say, you have talent. You have some players that have done it at the highest level. And for me now, it's about implementing an identity that they all buy into, that they all feel a part of, and they all enjoy playing with.
Can you maybe tell the listeners what it's like to step into the shoes of a team that has only known one head coach? Tom Sohn departed the club earlier this year. Eric Avila had the team for a couple of matches as the interim. Of course, he had been on the staff. He had played for the team in their inaugural year. There's an emotional side. Much like you departing Sacramento, there's an emotional side for these players that you become intertwined in to so many different environments. That's difficult to just say, here's your new coach. Here's some new ideas and go play because of that emotional attachment. How are the growing pains, both good and bad, that you're going to have to go through? How does it work through this mix? Because you can't just flip the light switch on and off, right? You got to get people to turn and maybe remember where they came from, but also understand that the path of where you're trying to go has tweaked itself slightly.
For sure. I think, look, it's not easy being thrust into a team that's already had a pre-season, that's already had an identity, explained to them and principles explained to them. And obviously Tommy was here for 6 years and he's got relationships with all the players, all the staff. And I think for me that the first thing you have to do is respect the work that Tommy has done. Tommy's put the building blocks in place over the years. And now for me, it's about being grateful for having those building blocks and trying to build on them.
You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. We're speaking with Mark Briggs, newly appointed head coach of the Birmingham Legion in the Eastern Conference of the USL Championship. If you miss any portion of this interview, you can listen back on the Sirius XM FC app. You can also listen to Mark on the USL HQ YouTube page in about 48 hours time. Mark, let's stay in the present. Took the team over, got in a couple of training sessions under your belt. First battle on the weekend against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Talk to me about what you liked, what you didn't like, and certainly being on the road for the first one is an interesting test.
For sure, difficult place to go. Obviously, Tampa, no matter how their form is, no matter the situation, it's a difficult place to play at Al Lang. But I thought, we first 15 minutes, excellent. The game should have been over. Missed a few one-on-ones, missed some opportunities that we should have scored. Go down 1-0 just before the half. But for what was said at half time and the reaction of the guys and the way they took the information and then came out and actually did what was asked of them. Was very pleasing for me. Obviously, we give up a late goal, which those things we have to work on and be better. But I was more so pleased the second half performance, the way we moved the ball, the speed at which we moved the ball, some of the rotations, the opportunities created, and then the reactions upon losses of possession. They give us a lot of positive moments for me to go over with them in the next few minutes.
In the best of ways, you and I, as are a lot of people, but we're junkies for this game, certainly for this league. We've shared a ton of conversations in the past, both about your teams, what the respective conferences look like. Anything major stick out for you? And I'm not just necessarily referencing the one game here. Anything major stick out to you between the East and the West, whether it be historically or what you've seen in the early portion of 2025?
Yeah, I think the levels fluctuate each year, right?
Yeah.
There's been moments where you look at the West and you're like, okay, you know, it's slightly better than the East, but I think the good thing about for the league and the good is there's two very good divisions, two very good leagues, and in every team, um, there's quality head coaches and there's quality players. So it only bodes well for the league. I think if you look at the East, it's a little different when you look. There's a lot of turf fields. It's a little different just in that regard. In the West, it's mainly grass. I think there's only one or two turf fields. So even that little thing is a detail that's different. But I think it's just about no matter where you go, no matter who you coach, it's about preparing your team for whatever they're going to face and giving them clarity going into the game so those players can go out and actually perform the way they want to perform.
I'm going to combine past and present here. Certainly a difference in the type of competition that is going to come in this year. It's already started. USL Jägermeister Cup. Some people know it as USL Cup. An opportunity to intertwine multiple leagues to play each other. Another domestic competition throughout the year. You've certainly not lacked for success when it comes to domestic competitions. I reference that 22 run to the Open Cup final so that people are clear. And I'm also including wins in areas where you won in extra time or you won in penalties. You're 11-0-4 in 15 matches in Open Cup all time. That is an absolute joke, including 6 straight results with Sacramento Republic. While Birmingham Legion are not in the Open Cup, as they've been knocked out already, and we'll get to the specifics of USL Cup here in a second, USL Jägermeister Cup is right there, and it is another cup competition you can have success in. Why do you think historically your teams have managed to be so successful when it comes to knockout football?
I think it's belief, instilling belief. I think it's players and staff understanding the importance of said competition. And I think that's what we're going to have to, what I'm going to have to drip feed to the players here. The importance of these cup competitions, the importance of every time you step on the field, making sure you're going out there to win a game of football.
Speaking with Mark Briggs, new head coach of the Birmingham Legion. Again, USL Championship Eastern Conference. This is USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. Let's move into the Jägermeister Cup. I personally have some own feelings about it, about how they've kind of woven this into this year's schedule. One of the biggest pieces of positive feedback that I've gotten from most of the managers around the league is they like it because the congestion doesn't really disrupt, in their opinions, a lot of the flow of the regular season. A lot of these fixtures are spaced about a month apart. It gives teams the ability to have a little rest, whether they're still an Open Cup or not. Do you feel the same way? And is there anything else in terms of how the competition is laid out that you like?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great competition. I think the way they've woven the two divisions, it's obviously creating the pathway for what the future may hold. You foresee in regards to the promotion, relegation, that type of thing. I think it's the first step of intertwining the two leagues. I like that it is spaced out. Although I wish our group was in the Open Cup now still. So, but I do like how it's spaced out because it's difficult to manage rosters with all the games as it is in the league. And to them throw another one in, I think they're very smart in the way they space the games out so it doesn't add too much to the bodies of the players. And all in all, I think it's just a good competition for the league. I think the way the league's going, another domestic competition, like you said, another opportunity to compete for a trophy. I think there's a lot of positives towards it.
They've certainly got some fixtures up and coming. A little break right now, which is probably super nice for you guys. You're going to have about a week and a half off until you face Rhode Island. When you look at the fixtures, both Domestic Cup, which is going to be USL Cup in about a month's time on May 31st, as well as USL Championship regular season, what was the most important thing for you transitioning back to kind of the present, the next couple of games, getting in that locker room? what was the most important thing for you to convey to the players to make sure that you guys certainly found success, but also you don't want to mask in regular season games, you don't want to mask results with what the long-term vision is. Getting 3 points is great, but when you're trying to build a bigger project and create sustained success, which you've always been so good at, you don't want to sacrifice for the greater good. So what's that message early on?
Yeah, I think like guys, the real message is going to be instilled today when I communicate with the players, because coming in last week, you obviously only have a couple of days to prepare for Tampa. So I leaned on Avi a lot that last week, and obviously gave little pieces of information and expectations for the players going into that game, and tried to give them a clear idea, a clear plan of what we wanted to do on Saturday. But now, like you say, I have 10 days between games. So now we can have almost like a mini camp, a mini pre-season, where I can really try and hammer home some of my principles, some of the things that I expect, some of the standards that are going to have to change, and really hammer home certain things. And that'll be the first building block in the long-term vision, so to speak. The standards have to go up a little bit, both on and off the field, and the players have to feel that and see that.
Mark, we've spoken to some guys in the past, whether it's changing conferences, certainly changing teams, if it's been changing leagues, someone from MLS coming in, assistant coach, head coach, what have you. There's been an interesting exploratory pattern of their time off. Now, while certainly for you, your tenure in terms of separation from SAC and the opportunity with Birmingham, it's a little bit shorter. Most of the people that we've spoken to, we're looking at a year plus. But I've always found that there are these ideas that people have chased in the offseason. Self-reflection about what was, applying it to the new group. Could be tactical ideas that maybe the little black book that people carry with them on the sideline, they've been able to maybe try and implement them in certain ways. Did you have any discovery patterns during your time away that you've brought in and you're very excited about to share with your group?
I think for me, like you're always analysing, you're always reflecting from a performance standpoint, from a player standpoint, from your game model, all of that stuff. But for me, it was getting a deeper understanding of myself. My beliefs are, as the head coach, it's always your fault. Whether there's things that happen, but at the end of the day, you're the leader, and it's always your fault. So for me, it's been diving into a deeper understanding of myself, a better knowledge of myself, so I can better understand the players. I can feel the players a little bit more from an empathy standpoint, from a connection standpoint. I think that's an area where I think I've gone really deep in myself, and hopefully there's a better version of myself that Birmingham will see.
Mark, last one here, and it has to do with Birmingham as a city and the passion that it brings overall. While certainly in terms of professional soccer, we'll say experience is smaller, right? Club put together its first season in 2019. It's now 2025. But having an opportunity myself, both through national team experience, we called it ODP back then. Yes, I just dated myself. Certainly at the travel level, that's what we called it back then. Now everybody looks at academy. Them boys in Alabama can play. It's that simple. The Southeast have always had a ton of talent. People talk about Florida, Texas, California, Carolina. Those are the bigger names. But Alabama has never been a slouch whatsoever. So you take the youth history, you combine it with what has been successful, in my opinion, for Birmingham Legion, just trying to get that next step. And there's this passion within Hammerdown area that I've always respected, regardless of stadium, form of the team. It seems to be constant. Your experience with them is going to be shorter, but you are always well-versed into what environment you're going in. Can you maybe describe what you've seen out of the Birmingham Legion's fan group so far, and maybe what you respect most about it?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with yourself. I think the passion for the game, the passion for their city, the passion. People are very prideful about Birmingham, which is kind of very, very good for me because I'm from just outside of Birmingham, back home in England. So, home from home, so to speak. But I think the passion has been the biggest thing for me. That's, you want to feel people that are passionate about their team. You want to represent those fans when you go on the field in the right way. And so that's my objective now, is to instill that passion in our players, instill that passion that the people of Birmingham have in our team, and hopefully that translates to results.
I'm sure you walked right in and said, "People, I'm from Birmingham. I have one of you. Accept me, my friends." I'm sure they knew exactly with your accent that that you had been growing up in the backyard as well. Mark, as always, bud, thank you very much for the time. You've always been very kind to us with coming on the show, sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences. We wish you nothing but the best moving forward with the Legion, bud.
Yeah, I appreciate it, mate, and same for me. Nothing but respect for you and Mike and the rest of the guys at USL.
Cheers, brother. There goes Mark Briggs, newly appointed head coach of the Birmingham Legion. They got a little bit of time off to maneuver some things, figure out what direction they want to head in the Eastern Conference. Their next match is on Wednesday, May 14th, 8 p.m. They'll host Rhode Island FC in their sophomore year at their home venue of Protective Stadium. Stick around. We have a familiar voice of one of Mark Briggs's disciples. Rodrigo Lopez will join the show. He'll talk about his return from injury, what it's been like in his brief performances back. They just got a win, a big one against Oakland Roots on Sunday night, and why Open Cup glory could be in their future once again against the San Jose Earthquakes. Stick around. You're listening to USL All Access.
Let's get back to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everyone. It's USL All Access. We made promises coming into the show that you would see Mark Briggs and Rodrigo Lopez reunite. It's on opposite sides of the commercial break. We left that part out. Devon Kerr alongside. If you're unfamiliar with Roro Lopez, you've been living under a USL Championship rock for the last decade. He's an OG. He's a legend. He's up there in the GOAT conversation. Always great to have him on. Roro, welcome back to the show, man. Good to have you.
My man, thank you guys. It took you guys a while. Not gonna lie.
It's been several minutes. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's okay. I was under construction for a little bit, so
Under construction. That's the greatest way to ever describe an injury. That's delightful. Love having you, buddy. Thanks for having the patience to wait around long enough for us to figure out how to use one of these computer screens to send you an invite. Not that you had any issues with that coming on air.
we have great people who manage that for us. So if it was up to me, I probably still trying to log on, but I'm grateful to have people in here that could help us out.
Well, we're glad we've got Roro on the rotary phone for this. Look, you describe it as under construction, but obviously some injuries over the last couple of years. But we had a graphic that we ran during the show on Sunday on CBS Sports Network. Since you came back to Sacramento, the team wins twice as often when you're on the field as when you're not. You're still at the top of your game. Got your first league start in about 11 months on Sunday in Oakland. How are you feeling physically, and how are you feeling as the year sort of kicks into gear here in May?
Yeah, Mike, that's a great question. You know what? That was part of when I first got injured, and obviously, the next couple of days I did a lot of thinking, and if I wanted to keep playing, and what I brought to this team, if I could still contribute, and that was a big part of me making the decision of playing, other than my son, making a promise to my son. But I felt like I could still contribute. My body was feeling great before that injury, and obviously my ties with Sacramento speak a lot for themselves, and I really care about this club, and if there's someone that that wants to win more than anyone in this league, it's me. I care a lot about this club, and I feel like we deserve to, we need more trophies. We need more. We need another star on this crest. So, for me, it was a no-brainer to come back and try to give it another go. But when I'm on the field, I just want to transmit that to my teammates. I want to, get that winning mentality back, and Obviously Sunday wasn't pretty, but we got the win, and it was very important for us to get a clean sheet.
Rodrigo, let's go back a little bit further. You brought in the injuries and, the idea of staying around. Did your rectus tendon in May of 2023 on your right leg. For people who don't know that, connects part of the femoral joint, excuse me. Then did your ACL in the left leg, both May injuries. 2023 kept you out 13 league games. You were able to return, help in the playoff run. Obviously, last year, that happened in May as well during Open Cup, and you're just coming back. Having dealt with injuries myself in the past, certainly you and I have shared what my journey has been like since my knee surgery in February. You can go to some really interesting places mentally while you're trying to get back physically. You've also, without diving into it, gone through some personal items off the field. It's, we'll say, a very interesting and unique 24-month span. Inspiration by your child is something that you led into and a promise to him. Can you maybe describe what these 2 years have been like and what it's meant to you and your family, whether it's on the field or off?
Yeah, obviously I have a great support system around me. I have my family, my wife, my kids, my father, mother, and siblings. But the first one wasn't as bad. I mean, it was a bad injury, but having it been during the season and knowing that I could come back that season, it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier. It was harder at that time, but when I tore my ACL and I had, to rehab for 11 months, man, that those were some of the darkest places, I've been in and ever. And you know what it's like, but having to be a father, and I have my academy as well that I was managing as well, and having to come in maybe double days and figuring out times to help out in the off season with my family and taking the kids to school. And it's just, man, it's been so hard. It was so hard. So now that I'm back on the field, it just makes everything worth it, and all the work that I put in, behind closed doors when no one saw me, all the crying and being alone. And man, it was tough. It was tough. And it's just hard to come in every day, seeing my teammates enjoy playing. And obviously I come in and I want to be very positive, and I still wanted to be that leader um and that person to help, in whatever way I could. So I would come in with a smile on my face, but deep inside I was really hurting. I was in a lot of pain inside for sure.
Speaking with Rodrigo Lopez of Sacramento Republic, USL Championship Western Conference, currently sit 8th in the West. Solid victory on the weekend against Oakland Roots. They will do battle in Open Cup play tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time against San Jose Earthquakes. We'll get to that in a second. I'm curious maybe how this team has changed during your departure since your return. Certainly, we had the opportunity to talk with now Birmingham Legion head coach Mark Briggs. Of course, he was your manager upon your return. He was a part of what has been some pretty crazy runs that you guys have orchestrated, both domestically as well in Open Cup play. Neil Collins, his resume certainly doesn't lack whatsoever. Maybe he's wants to put another star above your guys' crest, but can you maybe talk about the biggest differences between playing for Mark Briggs and playing for Neil Collins, and how maybe that affects the overall identity of Sacramento moving forward?
Man, first of all, I'm very happy that Mark is back in the league. I think he's a phenomenal coach. I think he's a top coach in the league. And he's done so much for the club, and for myself. I think he was part of the reason why I stayed in the game, and I chose not to retire. And I appreciate him for that. But now, now we have another top coach in the league, and his record speaks for itself. And he's won things with Tampa and been very close to winning the championship as a coach. But um, you know, they're pretty similar. They're great people off the field, which is very important. But Neil is very intense as well, expects and demands the best out of everyone each and every day. I feel like the team's been playing really well as well. So, the results haven't been there, but I think the results will come, and Neil's a very smart coach, and he does everything to get us prepared for games and to get us to get victories. That we haven't had that luck yet, but it's coming. And I think, like I said, on Sunday was a very good result for us. Obviously wasn't our best game, but sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to go and be scrappy and figure out ways to win, especially in games like that are derbies against our one of our, dearest opponent like Oakland.
Rodrigo, you think about the grander scheme of your tenure in Sacramento, and I think everyone, if they were to ask, name a Republic player face the franchise, it's you. You've obviously gone away for a period to go down to Mexico and had a good experience. Came back here 3 years ago as well. You won the title in the first stint, the Miracle at Bonnie Open Cup final in 22. What's your favorite moment as a member of the Quails?
Yeah, by far winning the championship. I don't, it's, I've had so many teammates in my career, have Mexico here, that play for a long time, but they never get to experience winning a championship. And to me, after my kid's birth and my wedding, I gotta put that in there.
Yeah,
Um, I
smart
think
man.
I think that's just a special moment. And for me, I want to finish my career the way it started here in Sacramento. We won the first year, and I want to be able to retire as a champion. So I'm going to do everything in my power to win. And I also want to say I'm very grateful for everything that Sac Republic's done for me, from ownership to, Todd, who, very easily could have said, hey, you've had 2 injuries in the last 2 years. Maybe it's time to, see another role or move into something else, but, I think you know, he's a great GM and obviously a great person, and he played the game, so he truly understands how I felt and the value that I brought to the club. So, I'm very appreciative of him as well.
Roro, I want to go back. I do apologize for bringing it up, but I want to go back to the 2022 Open Cup final, and for good reason. For people that don't know you as a person, for people that don't know you as a player, the quality of just what a human being you are. And I want to share a story that has been written about, but also some items that I've kind of learned behind the scenes after the article came out. Whistle blows. You look at the scoreline, it's 3-0. I can tell you right there, witnessing it firsthand, that's the closest 3-0 game I've ever seen in my life. Something just went at the end of it. The game ends. You guys are sad, upset, frustrated. I'm sure there's a million emotions that encompass what you guys went through. But then, and I will quote Nicholas Murray here in the article, in an uncommon turn, they returned to the catwalk, placed on the field leading to the stage, and you guys issued an honor guard for Orlando City. For people that don't know what that is, it's sandwiching side by side to create a guard in honor, basically paying an homage and respect to the champion. Number one, the team didn't have to do that. You could have easily gotten your runner-up medal and disappeared from the field. Number two, a Division II team doing that for a Division I team is very uncommon. And I've learned through the grapevine that you were basically the one that orchestrated that. That through the anger, the frustration, the tears, that you were the one grabbing your teammates to walk them over and pay respect to the opponent and to start that guard of honor. I can understand why. Can you maybe describe to the people why in that moment, with defeat around you, you chose to live up to the standard that you've always set for yourself?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the club that I'm representing. Ever since I got here in 2014, this club has always been very united, very generous, not just, not just on the field or anything, but like in the community, you see it all around. Sacramento Republic's everywhere in Sacramento and helping anyone out. So the integrity that we have and what this ownership has brought into the club, I just felt like, it was something that we could do out of respect. I we were all upset, honestly, and devastated, and the things that happened leading into the game. I don't know if you remember about them spying on us and
Yep.
going to the field and stuff. To me, I don't know if it's true or not. And if it was, and so be it. That's who they are as a club or whoever's running that side of it. But for us, for me, I think this club, is a top club from all the way up to to our the lowest person on this team or on this in this club, or the groundsman or whoever it is. But um, we just wanted to show respect, and we would have wanted, if it would have been the other way around, us going into the podium, I truly believe that they would have done it as for us as well. Maybe not, but that's just who I am as a person, and that's just what I've learned throughout my career, and obviously, like I said, just being here in this club has showed me a lot.
Robert, last one for me. Let's look to the future now of what will be a cup football game tomorrow night against San Jose. Now, location may be different, but outside of the recent success, you've got individual experience even further back, dating to 2015 on the first stint with the club, right? Coming off the title, you guys faced them then. They were a part of that journey back in 2022 in the round of 16 game. Had to do some math there on the fly. You guys are lucky I got it right. Certainly last year, it was the match that you picked up your injury in. You guys went on to get a result there. Anything extra in this game for you based upon past history with the Quakes, based upon what you've experienced with the Cup and all the emotion that's tied to your return and what has been the last 24 months? Or are you the type of player that compartmentalizes and says, you know what, can't control what happened then, next 90 minutes, and let's just go get a result and then we'll talk?
No, 100%. We're very focused on tomorrow's game. Given the past that I've had with Sacramento and playing, actually, we play them in 2014 as well. And I think I've played them now. This will be my fifth game, but every single game has been very, very close. Um, and it's obviously for me, I think it's our biggest rivalry in NorCal. Um, just because, I think we're 2-2 now, so tomorrow makes it a little even more special to see who takes that win. But we're just preparing for that. I don't really want to think about what happened last year and how my injury came. To be honest, I'm just looking forward, and hopefully tomorrow night, we're able to get the result that we want and move on in the next round. And I know they want to do the same thing. They have a really really good coach, new team, and they look very very good compared to years past. So it's going to be a very fun match, and hopefully we come out on top.
No doubt. Rodrigo Lopez is with us from Sacramento. Want to close with this on my end. I think it became a pretty major news story. Your son undergoing aortic valve replacement last year, about this time last year. You've spoken about sort of going through the rehabilitation on your knee in concert with your son, coming out of that. How's he doing physically? And can you sort of speak to what it meant? It felt like the club, the fans, the league, certainly Luis Felipe put together a fundraiser that got a lot of positive feedback. What that all meant to you and your family?
When I first got hurt, I didn't understand why. I did a lot of thinking into why it happened, and at that time for me, Roman was the most important thing, and having him have a successful surgery and know that he was going to be okay, was definitely on my mind and what I wanted, first and foremost. Then I got injured, and I kind of, speaking to my wife and people close to me, it just, I don't think I'm Catholic. I'm a big believer in God, and I don't think he wanted Roman to be alone in this, you know. I think he needed help, and I don't know, man. This story, I think about it all the time, and you know, I get emotional for sure. But the going back to your question and you know how everyone came together to help us out. You know, financially we were okay, but you know, just to take care of all the things that you don't need to worry about: hotels, travel, medical bills, flights, everything, you know. So for Luis to be so generous and think about that, and think about us, and Roman was truly special, and he knows that you know, I love the guy, and you know, he's my little big brother, you know, he's my little big brother, and uh, Roman loves being around him, and you know, Roman, it's something Roman's gonna remember for the rest of his life, you know, and um, I think it kind of shows of who we are as a family. Going back to the Orlando situation, you know, things like that, just being generous, it always comes back. It always comes back to you, and you know, fortunate to be surrounded by good people and a good club to you know, help us get through those moments. Roman's doing well, by the way. He's doing great. Um, he has tryouts next week, so he's very excited. He gets to train. We've been training in the off season, non-contact, but we've been training. We were training a lot, and you know, now that we're both back on the field, you know, very close to each other, it's gonna be exciting.
Amazing, man. And as a fellow Catholic, I guess I should say channel 129 if anyone's looking for a breakdown of the conclave, which starts tomorrow. We got to find us a pope, man. Rodrigo, blessings on your family, and happy to hear every picture I saw of Roman is with a trophy. So clearly baller, and ecstatic to hear him getting back into it. So congrats on the, I mean, being on the field in itself is a success, and already looking like yourself again. Can't wait to watch the game tomorrow, and thanks for taking time.
Not quite yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Mike. I'm getting there. I'll get there. You know, I'm just excited, and I'm blessed, and you know, like I said, I truly want, you know, this club to have another star on their crest. That's all I'm looking for.
That's the plan. Rodrigo Lopez from Sacramento Republic. When we come back, Devin and I take a quick look around the Open Cup's round of 32. That's next here on Sirius XM FC.
You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. Here are your hosts, Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everybody, to USL All Access as we close out the show tonight. Of course, only fitting that we take a look at the Open Cup matches that will be. They're going on right now as we're talking. 32 teams remain in the 2025 edition. 16 matches tonight. We'll see all MLS teams matched up against quote-unquote lower division opponents. That also means 4 teams outside of the second division. Nashville hosts Chattanooga Red Wolves of USL League One. Tacoma Defiance, fun little Cascadia going on up there in the Pacific Northwest. They are in MLS Next Pro. They host the Portland Timbers. Union Omaha of USL One, Dom Casciato hopes to pull off another cup set that has been an incredible run since they've come in to Open Cup glory. They will visit St. Louis City. And the last one, FC Dallas, welcomes AV Alta in their inaugural edition of this tournament, as well as USL League One. 2 games that I think you should keep an eye on. For me personally, Mike, as he's out walking the cat, we said we had to talk about 2 games that we weren't calling. One of them for me, Lou City, Minnesota United. Top quality by both teams. I think there's a real good balance between Eric Ramsey's squad, but that balance is where my argument steps in. They're coming off a big result. They've got midweek and Open Cup, and they've got Inter Miami on the weekend. I see squad rotation within this game. And the fact that Lou City, there feels a little bit more for me in this one. It's going to be at home at Lynn Family Stadium. They're just 1-6 against MLS opposition all time. I kind of feel like this is going to have some more bite, and they're going to go for it, try and see if they can make it the third time to get into the round of 16. Maybe third time's the charm. Who knows? And we talked to Rodrigo Lopez earlier. I like this Sacramento team. The Sacramento team that's going to visit San Jose Earthquakes. what Bruce Arena has done there. Old school flavor, new school mentality. They can attack probably better than anyone in the league, so much so that they've only been shut out one time this season. They've scored 4 goals or more 4 times this year, but they also tend to concede. And Sacramento Republic just proved to us on the weekend they can get a gritty performance on the road. I get it. It was at the Coliseum. It was against USL Championship opposition in the Oakland Roots, but this team has the mentality. Neil Collins is right there on the brink of pushing them through that threshold. 2-2 all time against San Jose. Who knows what will be. Again, a ton of matches tonight. Hope you're enjoying the ones that are on right now. Simulcast if you want. This was USL All Access on May 6th. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
This is USL All Access. If you missed any portion of the program, listen back anytime on the SXM app.